The Buddha once said, "He who sits alone, lies down alone, walks alone, in diligent practice, and alone tames himself, should find delight in living in the forest." Living alone, being alone, can be scary for many people these days. Oftenly, our society portrays a successful life, a happier life, a good life, as a life where it is surrounded by people, surrounded by things. But there's a reason why almost all the spiritual practices, almost all the spiritual pathways praise and promote this living alone, life in the place of a solitude practice, a solitude life. And that is why almost all the religious leaders had to solitude themselves from these hassles and bustles of this society and go to these quiet places and find the liberation and find what they were looking for. Same went with the Supreme Buddha. Before he became the Buddha, he was a prince. He was living in a palace. He was indulging himself with this sensual pleasure, and then he understood, indulging in this sensual pleasure doesn't help me to find what I'm looking for. So what he did was he left the palace and he went from one forest to another, meditating, finding this peace, this ultimate peace, right? So living alone can be a blessing. It is a blessing when it is converted to a blessing, right? But living alone can be a curse as well for many people. That is why people most of the time they are scary. They're afraid of living alone, right? Most of the time people come to me and say, I'm lonely, I'm living alone, I'm living by myself, but I feel so much lonely, so much negative thoughts coming into my mind. What should I do? That is what happens when you turn this loneliness into a curse. Trust me, it all depends on how you think and how you use this time. I will tell you a story. Prince Siddhartha, the Buddha, left the palace and he went to a forest. Although he went to a forest, there were 5 monks who was waiting for him to come to the forest. There were 5 monks who were helping Prince Siddhartha, the Buddha, with the meditation before his awakening. And then these 5 monks had this idea that only way to find the liberation is by giving these tortures and doing these hard meditations and harsh meditations and extreme meditations. So we call it Atta Kilamatthana Yoga, which we can translate into English as self-mortification, right? Now, Prince Siddhartha left one extreme when he left the palace. That extreme is, the Buddha described this as the extreme of sensual pleasures, indulging in the sensual pleasures. That was one extreme. And then Prince Siddhartha came to the other extreme where he practiced this self-mortification, giving these extreme and harsh meditations to the body. And then those 5 monks, they believed that this is the only way for the liberation. So Prince Siddhartha was practicing these meditations for 6 years. And finally he understood, this extreme, being in this extreme, doesn't help me either. So then he found the middle path, the middle way. And that is to live a spiritual life by balancing his material and spiritual life both, right? And that is why after that decision, he decided to take some food to his body. After a long time he had taken some food to his body, he grabbed his alms bowl and went on begging alms and find some food and had it. Now all those 5 monks had a lot of expectations on Prince Siddhartha. And then they saw this incident. And then they became disappointed. They said, "Oh, what a disappointment. We believed him. We had a lot of expectations on him. But look what now happened. He's taking food. Maybe soon he will go back to his palace and he will live a normal life again. So the best decision is to take is to leave him. So what happened? All these 5 monks left Prince Siddhartha. And after this alms round, he came back to the forest, and he saw everyone had left. No one was there. Prince Siddhartha was alone. Then he found this perfect environment, perfect place to be focused more into himself. That was because he was all alone. Right? He got the opportunity to be by himself. Right? Focus more into himself. And one day, he sat under the Bodhi tree and he became awakened. He became enlightened. Right? So this solitude, when it is turned to, when it is used in the correct way, it can be a blessing for you. Right? And the same solitude can be turned into a curse as well. Right? Most of the people, they complain me about the loneliness. I always say to them, when you're lonely, your thought process generates a certain energy within you. Right? And that can be negative. Now let's say you are in this negative energy environment and a negative energy thought process. You all know in science we learn about, according to science, it says that energy cannot be produced or destroyed. Now you have your energy within you, but it is negative, right? Now you can't destroy this negative energy, right? What we are trying in this whole life is to destroy this negative energy. Well, we can't do that. The only thing that we can do is to convert this negative energy, drive this negative energy to something positive, right? So how can we drive this loneliness, this energy to something positive? One of the biggest reasons why people feel lonely is because they lack an aim, a goal to their life. If they have a goal and aim that they should work on, if they have a system that they should work on, then they don't feel that much lonely because they have something to do. They have something to engage with it. Right? So this can go either, people can have either material goals or spiritual goals, but everyone must have these spiritual goals within themselves, no matter what life they are coming from, right? Because finally, there will be a time in all of our lives that we come to this lonely place. One day we have to be by ourselves with no one else around us. Right? At that time, if we don't have any quality, any spiritual quality that we have practiced within us, we'll start feeling lonely again and again. And it will start to build up this negative energy within us. Okay? And sometimes we can be too late for that to make it correct. So the best thing is to learn how to convert this negative energy to something positive, right? To do that, you have to have a goal and an aim for yourself, to yourself. Always ask from yourself, what should I do in my life? Who should I become in my life? What should I build up? What qualities should I work on in my life? If you found, we will always find some qualities that we should work on, right? Some mistakes that we have. Some weaknesses within us. If we can work on those weaknesses and make it correct, that time will help you to be more successful, more productive, right? More happy and a more peaceful person. But to do that, what do you need? You need time, right? You need time to be focused on yourself. And what gives you the best time to be focused on yourself is the time when you are all alone, right? And that is why I always say for people, have a time during the day only for yourself, a separate time. Probably people call it me time. Okay, that's a good thing. Having a me time for yourself during the day is essential. Okay, so I would say as a practical thing, apply it to your life. That is to have a separate, at least 15 minutes. It's okay. No matter how much you spend the time, but if it is for yourself, that is helpful, right? At least spend a 15 minutes of time, right? Sitting down, being by yourself, all alone, right? Not with your mobile phones, not with your Netflix account, not with your movies or anything. Just be by yourself, right? And then learn how to be with your own thoughts, right? Then only we can be more focused to ourselves, right? So I hope you got some idea about how to convert this loneliness into the solitude. So apply this little practice to your life and enjoy the solitude in your life. One of the common misunderstandings about Buddhism is that Buddha said life is suffering. Now one can think, why Buddha speaks about suffering? Why Buddha is so pessimistic? Isn't there anything to be happy about life? There are happy experiences that we gain in life. Why Buddha can't speak about this? Now this confusion happens when the Pali word dukkha, which is the first noble truth, is translated to English. The most common translation for dukkha, the word dukkha, is suffering. From this one can think, okay, the Buddha says life is suffering. But when the Buddha used this word dukkha in his first noble truth, Buddha meant something profound and deep. Yes, dukkha can be understood as suffering in a more superficial meaning, but it has a more deeper meaning when the Buddha used this word in his context. So I want to show you from this video what actually Buddha meant by when he said life is dukkha. In his book, Noble Truth, Noble Path, Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi mentioned about this as follows, I quote, Buddha drew this word out from its original context and gave it a deeper significance, using it to highlight the inescapably flawed, deficient, and unsatisfactory nature of sentient beings. Now, when you consider this point of view, we can understand that not only painful experiences, but also all the experiences has this inherent nature of impermanence and also inherent nature of unsatisfactoriness. Now, by this, Buddha did not mean that life is a total misery. Buddha also speaks about happinesses and joys that we can achieve in this life. We've talked about this in a video. We've talked about the 4 types of happinesses that Buddha teaches us to achieve in life as a household. Now, Buddha saw that there is happiness in life, there is these happy experiences in life, there are these painful experiences in life, and also there are these neutral experiences in life. But when you take a closer look at all these experiences, be it a happy experience, be it a painful experience, be it a neutral experience, all of these experiences has one thing in common, one nature in common, and that is these experiences are subject to change. They become impermanent. And as they are fleeting and as they are transient, these experiences cannot give a person a complete satisfaction, right? Because we experience these feelings and experiences, and we think this will last forever. But the true nature of every experience is that it is subjected to change. As it is subjected to change, it doesn't give you the fullest satisfaction. When you are not satisfied with that experience, there is suffering, right? Always unsatisfaction is something that is missing in your life, right? In everyone's life, in every human being's life, when you take a closer look at the person's life, there is something that is missing in life. We think, I wish I had that. I wish I had this, right? I wish I could do that and this. This unsatisfied nature is what makes the suffering. So the Buddha mentioned this in his sutras, but the Buddha said, Yada niccang tan dukkhang. What is impermanent is suffering. So The suffering doesn't occur just because of the painful feelings, because it occurs because our mind, our lives are not satisfied with these experiences. We think when we experience a happy feeling, okay, a pleasurable feeling, we think this experience will last forever. But the inherent nature of that experience is that it is changing, right? It becomes impermanent. When we experience a painful experience, what happens to us? We think this will last forever. But the nature of this is it will become impermanent, right? So there's a nice quote that I read recently about this suffering. It says, impermanence doesn't make us suffering. Wanting things to be permanent when the inherent nature of everything is impermanent is what makes us suffering, right? So wanting things to be permanent is what we call the cause of suffering. The Buddha understood the cause of suffering as tanha. Tanha can be translated into English. One of the closest translation to tanha is the thirst, right? That means there is this unsatisfied nature. When you consider the word thirst, it has this nature of unsatisfied nature, looking for something, yearning for something, right? So understand that when the Buddha used the word dukkha, he did not only refer to these physical unpleasant feelings, but he used this word to give you an idea about this unsatisfied nature of all these experiences. So it is much better to learn the word dukkha as it is and learn it and use it without translating and understand the meaning behind it. So I hope you got some idea about the word dukkha and what actually the Buddha meant by the word dukkha. So I wish may all of you be able to realize the Four Noble Truths in this life. Welcome to yet another episode in Inner Guide Q&A program. Now I need to ask a question from you. When was the last time you had a sound sleep and after you wake up, you felt so good? I think most of the time we don't get a good sleep, and that is why we are feeling tired after a good sleep even. So today we're going to talk about how to wake up in the morning without feeling tired. Now remember, the quality of your wake up is highly dependent on how you sleep, the quality of your sleep. So first of all, let's talk about how to have a better sleep. Our great teacher, Supreme Buddha, taught us that if you can practice the love and the kindness throughout your life, in your heart, practically, you will sleep better, right? So it says that it is so important to maintain a kind and a calm and a peaceful heart to have a better sleep. So your sleep is highly affected by several things. It depends on what you do during the day, and it depends on how you approach the bed, your sleeping posture, and also it depends on what you do after you wake up. So we are going to talk about these things. So let's talk about how the things happen during the day affects our sleep. Now if you spend most of the time in the day by being angry with people, by being jealous of others, by fighting with others and being sad and frustrated, then your mentality is not in a good condition. And then when you go to the bed, you will never have a peaceful sleep because your mind and your body is not ready for that, and it hasn't become peaceful. So it is so important to maintain a peaceful and a calm mind during the day, right? Of course, we cannot control the situations that we face during the day. We cannot control people complaining us, criticizing us, bullying us. We cannot control these things, but we can control our response to them, right? So we, by our own self, make the choice to be angry, to be jealous, to be frustrated, to blame. So what you have to do, you need to maintain and you need to try as much as possible to be kind and to be friendly with people, right? To help others, to do the good things, which makes you happy within. So if you can maintain a peaceful heart and peaceful mind during the day, even in the middle of the adversities and the problems, then no one can control and no one can destroy your peacefulness. So when you approach the bed and when you go to the sleep, you're going with a kind and a peaceful heart. So your sleep quality will be increased. And also the sleep is highly dependent on how you approach the bed, right? So in brief, I must say, approach the bed with a clean body and a clean mind, right? So how we approach the bed with a clean body? Refresh your body before you are going to sleep. Don't go to sleep with dust-filled bodies and sweat-filled bodies, right? You can have a little bit of a shower. If it was a cold shower, it is much better. But if you cannot have a cold shower, if you are not in a condition of having a cold shower, then have a lukewarm shower, right? Then you go to the bed. And when you go to the bed, it is much more important to clean your mind. So how to do that? And that's where the meditation comes in, right? You can bring in a meditation before you sleep. So it is so easy to practice a session or 5-minute session of loving kindness meditation, right? You can spread the love and kindness towards yourself first, and you can spread the same love and kindness to your family members, to your neighbors, to your people around your village, maybe the people in your town, and you can spread the love and kindness to the whole world. When you spread the thoughts and when you generate these thoughts within your mind gets so peaceful and it will become so serene. So bring in a loving kindness meditation before you sleep, right? And then you can go to the sleep with a clean body and a clean mind. And also, the quality of your sleep is highly dependent on your sleeping posture, right? Most of the people, they sleep on their stomach. They sleep facing down. But that is not a good posture to sleep. Our great teacher, Supreme Buddha, to the right side, and that posture is called Singhasaya, the lion's posture, which was used by our great teacher, Supreme Buddha, throughout his whole life. So if you can try that posture, that is one of the best postures to sleep. And also you can sleep to the left side, right? So these postures will increase your quality of the sleep, right? So these things affects your sleep in many ways, and it makes a huge impact. And then let's talk about what we should do after we wake up. Now, I need to share with you some tips which you can practice soon after you wake up, right? So first of all, do not do this. Do not hit the snooze button. Now, many of you hit the snooze button and you go back to the sleep. Remember, when you hit the snooze button and when you go to the sleep again, that sleep is not a perfect sleep, right? And that is why you are feeling tired after you wake up. So what you have to do, don't hit the snooze button. wake up and get down from the bed soon after you wake up, right? So you can keep your alarm clock, maybe your mobile phone, you can set the alarm and you can keep that thing across your room in a distance where you should walk to the alarm clock and stop it. So it will help you to get down from the bed. So that is one tip. And the next one is drink some water soon after you wake up. You can keep a glass of water near your alarm clock. Then you can stop the alarm and have a drink of water, right? And then it's better to have a little bit of a shower in the morning. If it is a cold shower, it is much better. But if you cannot have a cold shower, then go for a lukewarm shower and you will feel so refreshed in the morning. And after that, do some exercises, have some stretches on your body, then you're good to go, right? So these things, if you can do these things as soon after you wake up, it will keep up the refreshness that you feel in the morning throughout the day. So that is how we have a peaceful wake up early in the morning and feel refreshed. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I wish you all, may all of you be well and happy, and may all of you live long, and may all of you realize the Four Noble Truths in this Gautam Buddha's dispensation. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome everyone to another video. So today, let's talk about loneliness and how we can face this situation. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about two things. And the first one is the loneliness, and the second one is the solitude, which is more reframed version of being alone. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about loneliness. When we are around people, when we are living with people, and when we are in relationships with people, normally we feel happy. We feel that we are content, right? And we feel this joyfulness within ourselves. But when they are not around us, or when they leave us, sometimes when we have to depart from them, normally we feel depressed, sad, or lonely, or we feel like no one cares about us. So this is the feeling of loneliness. If we analyze this emotion of loneliness, we can find that we have become happy because of the people around us, because of their reaction, because of their way of behavior. That was the reason that we became happy. Simply it means that we have given the key of our own happiness to other people. So when they leave our life, sometimes when they depart from ourselves, sometimes when they fade away from our life, what happens to us is we become unhappy, we become sad, we become depressed, and we feel like no one is caring for us. There is no one to help for me. That is what we are thinking. So how we can deal with this? Well, that is where we come to the topic of solitude. Supreme Buddha advised us, Supreme Buddha advised the monks to practice this practice of being solitude. So what do you mean by solitude? So first of all, let's compare the loneliness to the solitude. Then you can take some idea about that. In loneliness, when you're lonely, you're thinking for someone to come to your life and make you happy. That means you're depending on others. Your happiness depends on others. But in solitude, you try to find the happiness within yourself. When you find the happiness inside yourself, you don't want to depend on another person. You don't want to depend on second person. You can find your happiness within yourself. And that is what the practice of solitude gives us. So when you're being solitude, or simply when you're being alone, now there are the people talk about this like the loneliness and being alone is two different things, right? So when you're being alone or when you're being in solitude, you're happy. You're not finding the happiness from these outer sources. You find the happiness within yourself. So Buddha teaches us to look at this loneliness not as something to be sad, not as something negative. Buddha teaches us to look at this loneliness something that is beneficial for you, something that is positive. So how we can use this loneliness, or how we can reframe this loneliness to be positive? Well, if you think about whenever you are being alone, you have more time for yourself, right? You have a bigger freedom for yourself. You can think about yourself. You can reflect more about yourself, and you can practice meditations, or you can think about your health and do some practices about that. You can do some self-development techniques, so you can improve yourself. So when you use that time, when you use that loneliness for good things, then you become more positive about that. Then you will never feel these sad or depressing states. So let me tell you a little story how Buddha felt lonely at one time. Actually, this incident happened to the Buddha before he became enlightened. We call him the Bodhisattva. When he was Bodhisattva, he was practicing this self-mortification for 6 years. He gave lots of hardships to this body. He did some extreme meditations in the jungle. So there were 5 monks who were helping the Bodhisattva. So he practiced this self-mortification meditations for 6 years, and he mastered that. Finally, he came to the conclusion of that I cannot achieve this enlightenment by self-mortificating or by giving this extreme hardship to this body. So he decided to find this middle way. So what he did was, first of all, he took his bowl and he went to the village and he got some foods to eat. Because he thought that to do the meditations, I need to have this physical energy. But those 5 monks who were helping to Bodhisattva, who were expecting the enlightenment from the Bodhisattva through this self-mortification, was so confused because they saw that the Bodhisattva is having these foods. Then those 5 monks thought, like, now he's not going to achieve this enlightenment. The enlightenment can only be achieved by this self-mortification. So they never believed on the Bodhisattva. So what they did was, they left the Bodhisattva. Now our Maha Bodhisattva was all alone in the middle of the jungle. There was no one to help him. There was no one to care about him. No one knew about him. He was all alone. But he didn't think about that loneliness as something depressed or something negative. So he thought, now I have more time for myself. I can do my meditations freely. There was no one to think about me. So I must use this time for my self-development. That is what Mahabodhisattva thought. So that is the way that we also should think about this loneliness. If you are feeling lonely, if you are having some kind of a loneliness situations in your life, use that time, use that valuable time to create a better life for yourself, because you have more time. You can do meditations. You can stick into a daily routine of the self-development. You can do meditations. You can do workouts. You can walk for some time. And you can be with this nature, read a book, or learn something new, practice meditations, do exercises. These things can be done when you are all alone. So, rather than feeling depressed about the situations that situations that you are in, why can't we become more happy about the time that we are spending alone, right? So practice this, okay? So if people comes to your life, let them come. If people walks away from your life, let them walk away. But you have to be by yourself. You have to think about yourself. That is what you have to think, and that is what you have to do in this valuable time. So I think you got some idea about the loneliness and being in the solitude. So practice the solitude and make your life more better. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome and welcome back to another video. Today, I want to discuss with you about how can we become peaceful and how can we become calm from our mind. Now we know that we are living in a world where we are constantly bombarded and constantly overloaded with information, with distractions and all of the chaos. So what happens when we live in such an environment is we become so reactive and we tend to lose our peacefulness, we tend to lose our calmness in our mind. And then what happens is our frustration, stress and depression builds in. So how can we deal with this? And what can we do to eliminate these distractions and this constant chatter in our mind and have a peaceful mind in the middle of chaos? So today I'm going to share a few tips where you can practice in your daily life, and then you can, if you practice this, it will be a great help to find peacefulness and calm in the middle of all the chaos. So the first thing that you have to understand is calmness and peacefulness is not an outer source. It doesn't come from outer world, right? It can be found within. So no matter where you live, no matter what the place you live, no matter what you do, if you really focus on this calmness, and if you're clever enough to find that, then you will be able to find the calmness and peacefulness in the middle of all the chaos. So always remember, calmness and peacefulness should be built and should be developed within, okay? And also, you have to remember one thing, that calmness and peacefulness is not about emptying your mind, right? When you become calm and peaceful, it doesn't say that there's nothing in your mind, no thoughts in your mind, right? Thoughts may appear in your mind, right? There will be lots of thoughts and train of thoughts will be appear in your mind. But when you become really calm and when you become serene from your mind, you tend to not to react to all those stimulations. That is what the real calmness and peacefulness means, okay? Normally, when the thoughts appear, right? When all these kind of trains of thoughts appear in our mind, what happens to us is we oftenly react to them, right? We become panicked and we tend to react to them. So the reason why this happens is because we think the thoughts as us. And we tend to think that I am what I think and I am my thoughts. But in reality, thoughts are not you. You are not your thoughts, right? Thoughts are just like, they're coming and going. It's like clouds, right? There's the sky and there's the clouds, right? So what is the nature of a cloud? It comes and it swarms around and it goes off, right? Sometimes the sky is cloudy, sometimes the sky is moody, sometimes the clouds are scattered here and there, and sometimes the sky is empty. So you are like the sky and your thoughts are like the clouds, okay? So there's a huge distance between the sky and the clouds. But we often think that the clouds as the sky. Sometimes when it is raining, sometimes when it is moody, we blame to the sky, right? We tend to say that, oh, this weather is not okay. The sky is always raining and it's moody. But sky is not raining. Clouds are what forms the rain, right? Clouds forms the rain. So same as that, when the thoughts appear in your mind, you can
take a little step back and think, should I react to this? Should I react upon these thoughts? For an example, if an angry thought came to your mind, what should you do? Just pause a little bit and think, should I react to this? You can have a little bit of a time and think about it. Oh, this is anger. I should not react to this. This is jealousy. I should not react to this. Okay? It's okay to have thoughts in your mind. But if you want to be peaceful, you should not, and you should choose to not to react to those thoughts. So there are a few practices where we can do in our daily life to to make a little bit of a help to this peacefulness and calmness. One thing that you can do is that you can slow down your body movement for a little time period of the day. Maybe like when you have time and when you're working by yourself, maybe like you're walking, maybe like you're writing something, or maybe like you're studying. Try to maintain slow body movements. Now, why I say this? Because our body and our mind is highly interconnected. Okay? When our thoughts become panicked, our body become panicked. So in the other way, if we calm down and if we slow down our bodily movements, it will be a great help for us to slow down the thought process. Then you can take a little time and think about what comes to your mind. That is one thing that you can do. And also there's another great practice that Buddha told us to do, that is called breathing meditation. When you do the breathing meditation, you reduce these heavy loads of thoughts into 2 thoughts, in breath and out breath. In breathing meditation, all what we are doing is we are constantly becoming aware of in breath and out breath. When you do that, it's sort of like condensing your mind. It's sort of like making your mind soft and peaceful and non-reactive. That is what you can do. And also there's another thing that you can do is to not to judge your thoughts and to be aware of your thoughts. I will give you an example. It's like you're watching a traffic pass by the side of the road, right? You can see cars and bikes and vans and buses are going, but you're not going to judge them. You're not going to stop them. You're not going to chase behind them. You sit by the road and you just watch them. Let the vehicles be the vehicles and you be you. In the same way, let the thoughts be the thoughts and you be you. When you become less reactive to your thoughts, you can find that peacefulness and calmness in your mind. So I hope you got some light about the calmness and peacefulness from this video. So I hope may all of you be well and happy, and may all of you be calm and peaceful forever. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to another video. In today's video, let's talk about how to control our negative emotions and how to control our mind. Well, the nature of our mind is it always likes to wander in negative emotions and negative thoughts. Negative thoughts like anger, desire or lust, or then jealousy, maybe resentment. These are the negative thoughts that our mind likes to wander in. So how can we control it? Well, our great teacher Supreme Buddha introduced us a gradual training where you can practice this controlling of negative emotions or negative thoughts in your mind. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce them to you. So first and foremost, before getting into these steps, there is one thing that you have to practice, and there is one thing that you have to master, and that is awareness. If you are not aware of what you are thinking, if you are not mindful about what you are thinking, then you cannot control it. So you have to totally understand and you have to totally be aware of what you're thinking. Okay? So whenever you become aware of what you're thinking, then you will have that power to control it. So here comes the first step. Buddha says, whenever you become aware of your mind is wandering in negative thoughts like anger or lustful thoughts or
or resentment or jealousy, the first thing is to shift your thought pattern to something wholesome. There are some wholesome thoughts in your mind which makes you peaceful. Maybe like thinking of something that you have done in the past, like maybe you helped someone. Whenever you think that thought, your mind becomes happy and peaceful. So what you're going to do is, whenever you become aware of your negative thoughts, we're going to shift our thought pattern to something that is wholesome, something that makes us peaceful. So that is the first thing that Buddha says. Shift your thoughts to wholesome thoughts. If that first step did not work out, then what you have to do, go for the next step. What is that? Buddha says, think about the disadvantages of thinking negative emotions. Right? If you are constantly having angry thoughts, then you have to think, these thoughts are hurting myself and others. If I take actions according to these thoughts, it will hurt myself and the others. Remember, it may be a little thought of anger, but if it grow up, what will happen? It will be destructive. So what do you have to do? Think about the drawbacks or disadvantages of thinking these negative thoughts. Then, whenever you see these disadvantages, your mind will tend to stay away from these negative thoughts. Most of the time, we are not aware of these disadvantages. Okay? So what do you have to do? Think, if I keep on thinking these negative thoughts, it is not going to help me. It will disrupt my peacefulness. Right? That is the second step. Then as the third step, Buddha says, pay no mind, pay no attention. If the second step did not work out, go for the third step, to not to pay any attention to that thought. Right? See, whenever we give so much attention to something, maybe a thought, it grows again and again, it grows more. Right? For an example, if you became angry with someone and if you keep thinking about him again and again and becoming angry, that anger will grow more and more. So what do you have to do? We have to let the thought be a thought without paying much attention. Right? When you just stay away from giving attention, then it will fade away from your mind. It's something like this. Have you seen little babies, when they fall down, they start to cry, right? If the parent or the mother or father see that it is not a big deal of falling, if mother or father did not give any attention to that baby, what does he do? He just don't care about that. He will stop crying. Same thing goes with our mind. If we did not pay any attention to that thought, right? If we did not care about that thought and just let it go and let it pass away from our mind, then it will fade away. That is one way of doing that. If the third step did not work for you, then the Buddha says, go for the fourth step, to relax your thought process. Right? Now remember, when you think negative thoughts, your mind becomes so much busy, so much rough and distracted. So, what you're going to do is, you're thinking, why am I thinking these distractive thoughts, these negative thoughts that are making me so much busy and making me distracted, right? So, what you're going to do is, you're relaxing your thought process to something very soft and subtle. Maybe like loving kindness, maybe like compassion, right? Maybe like gratefulness. When you think those thoughts, when you think more positive thoughts, your mind or your thought process becomes so much relaxed. And then, if the fourth step did not work for you, then it comes the final step. This is something that we have to do with a great care. I do not recommend for everyone to do this. This should be done with a great experience and a good practice, right? And that is to crush your thought with awareness, right? You have to be totally aware of your thinking pattern and have a good determination to your mind that I am not going to think these negative thoughts, right? But this should not be done by everyone, right? Some may be not good at this, right? If you keep on becoming aware and if you keep on forcing this mind, it will grow more and more these negative thoughts. So if all those 4 steps did not work for you, then you have to go for the final step, right? So it is much better to practice these 4 thoughts before doing the final one. Okay? So practice these things. When you practice, you will feel and you will understand that your negative emotions are fading away little by little. Remember, this is not going to happen overnight. It will take a long time to do this, but you have to keep on practicing. Keep on doing it. Make it a habit, and then you will become a master of it. So practice this practice and make your mind a place where free from negative thoughts. Namo Buddhaya.